London, Easter weekend 2015. While the rest of the city prepares for a 4-day holiday, a quiet street in the historic Diamond District is about to become the stage for the most audacious heist in British history. Deep underground, in the bowels of 88 to 90 Hatton Garden, the silence is shattered. Not by high-tech lasers or computer hacking, but by the relentless, rhythmic grind of a diamond-tipped drill. Through 2 feet of reinforced concrete, a team is burrowing toward a vault containing millions in untraceable gems, gold, and cold hard cash. When the world finally saw the culprits on CCTV, they didn't see nimble gymnasts or tech-savvy millennials. They saw men in high-vis jackets, carrying wheelie bins, moving with the stiff gait of retirees. Their leader was 76. Their mastermind was 75. Collectively, the core gang had lived for nearly half a millennium. This is the story of the Hatton Garden Heist, a last hurrah for a generation of old-school villains who forgot one crucial thing. They were living in a digital world that doesn't forget a face or a phone signal. If you live for the mysteries behind real-life crimes, hit like, share, and subscribe, and join us as we unravel the world's most shocking true crime stories. To understand the scale of this crime, you have to understand Hatton Garden. Since the 19th century, this small patch of London has been the heart of the UK's diamond trade. Behind its unassuming brick facades lie some of the most concentrated pockets of wealth on the planet. The Hatton Garden Safe Deposit Limited was seen as a fortress. It was where independent jewelers stored their inventory over long weekends. It was old-school security for an old-school industry. Meet the suspects. Brian Reeder, 76, known as the Master, a veteran criminal linked to the infamous 1983 Brinks Mat robbery. He used a senior citizen's bus pass to get to the heist. Terry Perkins, 67, a man who celebrated his birthday during the heist by raiding safety deposit boxes. Danny Jones, 60, an eccentric who obsessed over fortune-telling and lived in a house filled with stolen loot and history books. John Kenny Collins, 75, the Lookout, a man with a long history of petty crime and a penchant for falling asleep on the job. These weren't desperate men. They were career professionals who missed the adrenaline of the golden era of British crime. They viewed this as their pension fund, their swan song. Night 1, Thursday, April 2nd, 9:19 p.m. The staff at the safe deposit vault lock up for the Easter break. Within minutes, the bad grandpas arrive. They don't blow the doors off. They have a key to the front entrance. They enter casually, dressed as gas engineers and utility workers. They disable the elevator, slide down the shaft to the basement, and encounter their first real obstacle, a massive, heavy iron gate. They don't pick the lock. They use a hydraulic spreader, the kind firefighters use to pry open crashed cars, and simply pop the hinges. Now they face the wall. 2 feet of high-density steel-reinforced concrete stands between them and the vault. For hours they operate the Hilti drill. The heat is intense. The dust is suffocating. Around midnight, a mistake. The motion sensors trigger an alarm. A security guard arrives, looks through the door, sees nothing out of the ordinary on the surface, and leaves. The police are notified, but a Grade 1 emergency call is downgraded by an operator. The gang hears the sirens fade. They realize they have the entire weekend to themselves. They breach the concrete, but there's a problem. The back of the metal cabinets inside the vault is bolted to the floor and ceiling. They can't get in. Exhausted and frustrated, the gang actually leaves. Most people would quit, not Brian Reeder. However, after a disagreement, Reeder, the oldest and most experienced, decides he's out. He walks away. The remaining trio, Perkins, Jones, and Collins, return with new equipment. They spend another grueling night. Finally, the cabinets give way. It's a literal cave of wonders. They smash open 73 safe deposit boxes. Diamonds spill onto the floor like gravel. Gold bars are stacked like firewood. They spend hours stuffing the loot into wheelie bins. By the time they leave on Easter Sunday, they have stripped the vault of an estimated £14 million, though many believe the true value, including uninsured items, was closer to £25 million. Tuesday morning, staff returns to work. They find a hole in the wall and a scene of utter devastation. The Metropolitan Police's flying squad, an elite robbery unit, is called in. At first, the media speculated it was an international Mission Impossible-style team. Mossad? Eastern European hitmen? The truth was much more wrinkled. The gang was old school, and that was their downfall. They didn't understand the digital exhaust they left behind. The white van. Detectives tracked a white Mercedes Vito van on CCTV. They traced its plates to John Kenny Collins. The Castle pub. Police put Collins under surveillance. He led them straight to the others. They met at the Castle pub in Islington to brag about their success. The bugs. The flying squad planted listening devices in the gang's cars. The recordings were gold. They heard the men arguing about how to split the loot and laughing about how they'd fooled the old Bill. Terry Perkins was recorded saying, "The biggest robbery in the world, and we were in the middle of it." He wasn't wrong, but he was also being recorded by the finest microphones the British government could buy. May 19th, 2015. Over 200 officers raid addresses across London and Kent. They find bags of jewellery hidden under floorboards and in kitchen cupboards. At Danny Jones's house, they find a how-to book on forensics. Clearly, he hadn't finished the last chapter. The trial at Woolwich Crown Court was a media circus. The Diamond Wheezers pleaded guilty or were convicted of conspiracy to commit burglary. The sentences. Most received 7 years. Because of their age, this was essentially a life sentence. The tragic end. Terry Perkins died in prison in 2018, just days after being ordered to pay back £6 million or face more time. Brian Reeder was released on medical grounds in 2019 after suffering strokes and cancer. For years, one man remained a ghost. Basil, the red-wigged alarm specialist who let the gang in. It wasn't until 2018 that he was revealed to be Michael Seed. He was eventually caught and sentenced to 10 years. The Hatton Garden Heist changed the way the world viewed senior crime. It exposed the massive vulnerabilities in Britain's private security sector. But more importantly, it marked the end of an era. These men were relics of the 1970s and 80s underworld, a time when you could disappear into a pub and live off cash for decades. They failed to realize that in 2015, every street corner has a lens, every phone has a tower, and every brag can be recorded. There is a strange, dark romanticism to the Hatton Garden Heist. It feels like a movie script, and indeed, several films have been made about it. We find ourselves almost rooting for the grandpas who took on the system. But behind the Ocean's 11 glamour are the real victims. The small-scale jewelers whose life savings were in those boxes. People who lost heirlooms that no insurance check could ever replace. The bad grandpas wanted one last taste of the high life. Instead, they spent their final years behind bars, proving that while you're never too old to dream big, you're also never too old to face the consequences. Crime doesn't pay. It just waits for the clock to run out. If you love true crime stories, you're in the right place. Check out more videos on Crime Chronicles. Like, share, subscribe, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching.